Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch, Book 2 of the Gentleman Bastard sequence. I think it's the best book of the entire series. It's hard to talk about it without getting, like, I don't know, super emotional, hyper sentimental, perhaps sounding like more of an idiot than I normally sound like. This book best captures why I love fantasy. In Red Seas Under Red Skies, you get obviously adventure. I feel sucked into the world of Talvarar, into the Sea of Brass. I feel like I'm a member of the Poison Orchid. I feel like I'm a fucking pirate when I read this book, right? Which is such a cool thing to feel like. I grew up like many young boys, fantasizing constantly about being a fucking pirate. And that didn't go away in my later years. I've always had this kind of strange quasi-anarchist relationship with like the idea of freedom and a general dislike of all forms of government. So like even in my mid 20s, like I read a bunch of pirate books, and yes, Drakasha, Drakasha. Yeah, maybe I have a thing for pirate women as well, especially like Anne Bonny, Mom, Mary Read, right? I love pirate women. That's my type, y'all. Pirate women. So Drakasha. Oh, Captain, my Captain, baby doll, baby girl, hit me up. Ezri, Shoddy, you're already taken and dead. But okay, this review or analysis has already lost the plot. I do think it's fascinating the way that Red Seas Under Red Skies communicates directly with the first book, The Lies of Locke Lamora. The Lies of Locke Lamora had a very interesting structure to it, a structure that sort of generated its own grief through a flashback sequence. And the flashback sequences, you get to be around the members of the Gentleman Bastards, even Nazca Barsavi. So it's like Nazca and Galdo, Bug, Jean, Locke, obviously, Father Chains. You get to be around them when they're children, which kind of generates the grief of seeing the complete and total annihilation of most of those characters in the present day storyline, the present day chronology. So it's a structure that generates grief, right? Like if we didn't see Nazca Barsavi in a major flashback interlude of the book where she first meets Locke sitting on her father's lap, right? If we don't first see that, then we don't really have the full effect of the grief of seeing her corpse inside of a barrel full of piss. And that kind of methodology is applied to most of the parts of the Lies of Locke Lamora. I think it's really clever in that its own structure generates grief. Now, Red Seas Under Red Skies, the first half of it, there's also like a structure reminiscent of the structure found in the Lies of Locke Lamora with the flashback interludes. Well, here they're called reminiscences, and where I believe that in the Lies of Locke Lamora, the flashback interludes generated grief, and Red Seas Under Red Skies, I think it's far more productive in that the reminiscences they process that grief. They process the grief of the first book. And I think it's really cool because a lot of fantasy series, at least more popular ones, they don't like to directly engage with like the trauma, the PTS fucking D of the first book. Whereas Red Seas Under Red Skies absolutely does that. It takes a generous amount of time to process the grief from the first book. When we enter into Red Seas Under Red Skies, Locke Lamora is entirely distraught. He's desperate. He's helpless. He's lost within his own self-loathing and grief, right? And through the reminiscences, we can process that grief. While the chronology still sets up this beautiful story, like the Sinspire. Oh my god! Every criminal or hedonistic part of me wishes I could gamble in the Sinspire. Solyndra, oh my god, are you single too? Because I'm kind of into you as well, Solyndra. She's such a cool creation, dude. Like half of her body's just fucking burned and like looks horrific, monstrous. The other half, I imagine, looks like a fucking like model. And she's a badass and she's sadistic and weird. And I love the tension, the erotic tension when Locke goes to see her boss Requiem, and they take like this service elevator up, and they're standing like this close to each other. I was like, oh, Scott Lynch, are we gonna do something a little bit fun with that? Not really, but I still. Basically, Scott Lynch was flirting with readers like me who wanted to see some sort of morbid triangle with Requiem, Locke, and fucking Solandri in that elevator. And also, I mean, I guess eroticism, sexual intensity goes hand in hand with any sort of con that involves a certain amount of lethal consequences. So, I mean, I just love the character of Solandri so much. I loved Requiem so much. Like, if we never went to the fucking ship, like that's the whole thing. The ship puts it over the edge into probably number two or number three on my favorite books of all time. Like that's what puts it over the edge. But if we never went to the fucking ship and we just stayed at the Sin Spire with this rogues gallery of psychosexual fucking tyrants like Requiem and Solandra, it would still be pretty good. It would still be a top 10 quality. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I love the shit at the Sin Spire. I love Scott Lynch's take on the casino as a as literal plot architecture, as the architecture of the plot itself. And like, I do think there's some meta qualities. Like when we're going through the Sinspire at first, there's all these different levels, right? And each one gets a little bit more impenetrable and less crowded as it goes on. And I kind of think that that's Scott Lynch's view of kind of vast fantasy series like the one that he's building with a Gentleman Bastard sequence. Like as we go on and on, I think there's like a certain like hidden keys in each level of the Sinspire. But I love Requiem as a villain. Obviously, I think Solandra is honestly it's one of Scott Lynch's best creations because I love how gothic she is. I love how lethal she is. I love how psychopathic in a really sexy way that I mean I find her. I mean I might be unique in that, but I think Solandra is one of Scott Lynch's greatest inventions. I love spending all the time in the world with her in this book, you know. But when we go to the boat, it's not like I missed her that much because I found myself obsessed with Drakasha. I found myself wishing that I was one of her crew on the fucking Poison Orchid, right? Like there's so much going on in this book. It's never confusing or convoluted or anything. It's just between Stragos, who is like the Archon of Tal Varar, the Priory, and Requiem and the Sinspire, and then the Poison Orchid. There's a lot of different moving parts, and I think that this con. If we take a look at the entire strategy and game plan, if we look at this painterly, Lynch's composition here, I think, is not only more confident than it was in The Lies of Locke Lamora, I think it's more impressive. And as I said before, I think it's more emotionally productive. So with The Lies of Locke Lamora, I'm able to feel a lot of like melancholy for my own past. If you missed the last video, you should probably go watch it, the one where I talk about my own past and how it informs the way that I interact with The Lies of Locke Lamora. I was a street kid. I was a crust punk kid. And, I had to, as a group, we had to kind of steal to survive, and there was some sort of brotherhood felt, or some sort of found family felt within that. And of course, like all street kids, most of them die because they can't fake being ordinary is the way that I'll put it, right? I can, so that's how I'm still alive. But I feel a lot of melancholy for that, and I feel a lot of grief for that. But The Lies of Locke Lamora doesn't necessarily give me tools to process that. I think that Red Seas Under Red Skies give you productive emotional tools to process your own grief, and especially the grief of the first book. And especially if you like relate to the grief felt in the first book a lot, it offers you a lot of productive tools to process that. And also, one of those tools is like pure fucking adventure. And I don't think it gets any It doesn't get any more adventure than when you're out on the open sea on a fucking pirate ship, man. When your main character Locke, who is still somehow like regardless of how many colorful characters there are, Locke is still the best character in this book. No other fantasy series that I've ever read can maintain like the main character, the main protagonist being the best character. Most of the fantasy series that I've read, and this isn't necessarily like a criticism or a flaw, I mean it's often deliberate, but most of the fantasy series that I have read, the main character is far from the most interesting, captivating, or best character in the series. But in the Gentleman Bastard sequence, yeah, Locke is maintaining, like, no matter how colorful everyone else is, he's still vibrant in comparison. And it might be because of all the separate identities, all the different layers that make up Locke Lamora, and the fact that we as readers at this point in the series still don't even know his real name. We still don't even really know Locke Lamora yet. Not entirely, not as intimately as you would with a main character in any other fantasy series. Locke is still the best character in this whole book. I can thirst over Solyndra and fucking Drakasha as much as I want, and trust me, I want to a lot. But like none of that takes away from the fact that Locke is still the most captivating character in this entire thing, this entire epic. So much adventure on the pirate ship, so much love, and I think there's a lot of sensitivity, a lot of tenderness, meaning a lot of heart. I love Ezri and Jean together. I love that love story there, and I love that even in this book, it feels like Scott Lynch is being more careful with his characters. In the Lies of Locke Lamora, he killed a lot of them, a lot of them. They were dropping like flies in rapid order, rapid succession. In Red Seas Under Red Skies, there are less main character deaths. Therefore, the deaths have a lot more impact. Ezri sacrifices herself in this book at the end of it, and it hits like a cannonball to the chest, right? One of the issues with the Lies of Locke Lamora, I think it's a masterpiece, but one of the things that keeps it away from being as good as Red Seas Under Red Skies is that there's so much grief, there's so much murder, there's so much darkness that over time you kind of become desensitized to a lot of it. Right, like once the whole Bug and Caldo and Galdo dead thing happens, like you're pretty much ready for any more misfortune, for all the misfortune in the world as you're reading that book. You kind of get used to it, which in and of itself is a poetic device as well. But in Red Seas Under Red Skies, I think that yeah, Scott Lynch is a lot more careful about his main character death. So Ezri, yeah, hits like a cannonball to the chest. I love that character, and seeing both Jean and Locke's and Drakasha's reactions to her death is heartbreaking. Right, I was more affected by Ezri's death than I was by any other character death so far in the whole series, and that should say a lot, especially a lot about how just very quickly I think Scott Lynch has become a much better writer since the first book, and they were released like really close together. Why I love fantasy is, man, like that's such like a huge question, but it's a huge question with the most simple answer. I love it because I love it. I love it because it's everything that I want. I love it because through it I can process a lot of different things happening in my own life in strictly fantastical terms. You see, I always hate when people are like, books are escapism. I love fantasy to escape from the doldrums of everyday life, from my fucking cubicle or from my shitty 9 to 5. I don't like that. I don't like that because I don't really believe in escapism, and I don't believe in that. And I don't not believe in escapism in a pretentious way. Like I think that we do want to not think about our lives or like the politics of the world for a couple hours. I think we do want to escape from it. Where I don't believe in it is that I don't believe that's possible. I don't believe it's possible to escape from anything. That every form of what we think of as like innocuous escapism is not innocuous, nor is it truly escapism. I think that through fantasy, like if you told me that Red Seas Under Red Skies is an escapist piece of literature that you can read it and be lost in a whole new world that has nothing to do with yourself, I think that you maybe need to seek a therapist because absolutely you are absolutely through fantasy, through these archetypes, through every form of media, through songs, even if it's like seemingly mindless, we are processing something about ourselves, if not uh if not on the surface and directly beneath our psychological surface, our subconscious, like we are dealing with that stuff through our reading, right? Like, and if you feel like so connected to a book, right, more than you are to any other one, and you haven't really like interacted with your love for that series, you should, and I think you should on a deep level, because then you'd see certain things about yourself that maybe you had never truly recognized before as valid components of your very soul. You know, I don't believe that escapism is a real thing. So why do I love fantasy? Because it allows me to engage with some of the darker, more difficult parts of my life, or some of my dreams that seem like or you know, goals that seem so impossible to achieve. I can investigate both dreams and nightmares through the frameworks of the fantasy genre, and it can be high stakes, it can be melodramatic, it can be full of fucking dragons, or it could be full of Drakasha and Esri bossing me around the fucking ship, right? It could be full of everything, man. That's what fantasy means to me. Fantasy means we can deal with some stuff that you really need to deal with, but you're ignoring it, and by ignoring it, you're trying to escape from it through fantasy. But then fantasy does something that even the best medicine can't do. Without you realizing it, you are processing that thing that you need to work on, or like that inspiration to complete a goal that you've had for a long time. Like subconsciously you're doing that. So when I'm reading Red Seas Under Red Skies, which is a beautiful example of a perfect fantasy book in my opinion, I know that I'm working on so much stuff in my brain. Like I'm reading it, I'm lost in the world, but there's a lot of different, just like there's different moving parts to the scheme, to the caper, to the plot, to the adventure. There's a lot of different moving parts to me as a reader while I'm engaging with this book. And Scott Lynch is a very skilled writer, and I think that every time I return to this series, I I feel healthier, right? Like I get better and better. I process more and more things. And this being a story that I love so much, I think it provides a really unique lens for me to view my current situation, my future prospects, or my past grief, right? Like it allows me a lens that I feel like is constantly adapting, because great fantasy literature is not static being. Great fantasy books are dynamic becoming. And that's the way we all are. And that's why I love fantasy books, right? I love fantasy books because they aren't static. I love fantasy books because they're dynamic in a way that I've not been able to find in other genres, right? But that just comes down to my own personal taste and to what the archetypes and themes that I identify most with, right? If someone could tell you the same spiel that I'm telling you about the horror genre, about science fiction, about memoirs, or about classics, right? I'm telling you this about fantasy, and I'm using Red Seas Under Red Skies as my primary example of it, because I think it might be the most the the most productive, also one of the most creative, one of the most inventive, one of the most heartfelt, one of the most fun. You know, I wouldn't really describe The Lies of Locke Lamora as the most fun you can have with a fantasy book with grim dark fringes. Red Seas Under Red Skies, on the other hand, is one of some of the most fun you could possibly have, which makes the the emotions that you're processing through that book, it gives them a sort of healthier definition through the mending process that is reading and then rereading and then talking in a video about this book, right? So Red Seas Under Red Skies, I think, is absolutely perfect. My favorite characters, obviously, Locke Lamora gets number one. The number two is man, Drakasha and Selendri are fucking like neck and neck, okay? Selendri and Drakasha are neck and neck. And then like honestly, Requiem. No, Moraine. Moraine, bro. What a cool character. What another great one. Okay. I think that Scott Lynch writes women beautifully. Okay. I think that's awesome. You know, Moraine, holy shit, what a great, shadowy, secretive, antagonistic figure. Oh god, she's great. She's really good. Just Red Seas Under Red Skies. I know that this is the sort of book that I could read every year, every 2 years probably, and smile most of the time. And I often have trouble falling asleep. I have a lot of insomnia. One of the things that helps me drift off, or at least has during this most recent read through that I've done for this channel just now, one of the things that has helped in the last couple of days is I go to bed and like I kind of drift off imagining that I'm fucking, you know, that I'm plundering ships, sacking ships with the poison orchid. That I'm the one who gets to throw Stragos into a burlap sack. That Drakasha's a little lonely one night. That stuff helps. It's not escapism, right? Because everything that is in here, no archetype or theme is empty. Everything that you devote yourself to requires investigation. This doesn't take any of the fun away. This is such a fun book, and I'm entirely grateful that it exists. Like it makes me feel very good. Red Seas Under Red Skies, it's why I love fantasy. Right? It's everything I love about fantasy. All in one book, or at least it's the best expression of what I love about fantasy in one book. Everything in it's kind of just beautiful to me. Scott Lynch is a brilliant writer, and Red Seas Under Red Skies currently is his best work. This is the best book of the entire Gentleman Bastard sequence. So yeah. Yeah. The Lies of Locke Lamora itself is a difficult it's a difficult champion to dethrone, but book two does that. I think with relative ease as well. There's something just so this book flows like a red sea. This book flows like a red sea under a red sky, and I read it until I have red eyes. I love this book. It's great. Ahoy. Mm. Well, hope you enjoyed my analysis. I hope I said something of value to you. If you're a big Red Seas Under Red Skies fan and you've stuck around this long into this rambling ass fucking video that thinks it's more important than it truly is, thank you. Thank you for sticking around. Soulcatcher simp. Simping for Red Seas Under Red Skies. See you in the next video.